Steph Curry, regarded as one of the greatest shooters of NBA history, with a staggering record of 25 games with 10 plus three-pointers, he has regularly put in games where he is untouchable and doesn't look like he's going to miss. And he's not alone. So many world-class athletes have these types of performances where their success almost looks undeniable. Yet, when athletes such as Steph Curry are asked by reporters how they did it, they give answers that you'll commonly hear from athletes that achieve these spellbinding performances. It's either, I don't really know, I wasn't really thinking of anything, or I was in the zone, leaving us disappointed to the lack of advice that we as mere mortals can get to achieving such performances. But what if these athletes are describing something that you can tap into, and that if you can unlock it, you could find yourself performing to your full potential and elevating yourself to this elite state? Well, if you want to find out, then you're going to want to hang around, because I'm going to explain what that state is, why it's so powerful, and how you can access it yourself. You may have heard of athletes being in the zone or in the moment, and famous psychologists such as Friedrich Nietzsche or William James first began writing about these experiences before psychologist Abraham Maslow came along and described them as peak experiences. For many, these experiences came from activities such as art, music, writing, even sex, but also sport too. And it explains how a golfer can lose all sense of the crowd being there, how a basketballer may feel that they cannot miss because they see the hoop as big as a hula hoop, or a tennis player describing how time stands still as they return a 100-mile-an-hour serve. Yet something didn't add up, because as Maslow explained that these experiences bring about some of our most ultimate happiness and fulfillment, the athletes that were performing them didn't seem to be smiling or even cheering their way through these experiences. So what's going on? Well, the work of famous Hungarian psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi came to describe these experiences as a state of flow. Flow state is where individuals experience deep immersion, focus, and intrinsic motivation in their activities. It's in these moments where we're experiencing the fine detail and deep concentration that allows us to put in our best performance. And this feeling of flow comes from a range of components all coming together that brings about this sense of being in the zone. And so we're going to explore why it's so important and how you can get yourself into that state of flow. While flow is not only important for putting in our best performance, it's also key for helping us practice and develop our skills. And athletes that experience it know it as the voice, whereby in split seconds you're making quick decisions and fine movements based on an internal dialogue. And I've personally felt this before in my career. In matches where I was performing at my best, it was as if I was just totally absorbed in the competition. I wasn't thinking, but I was making big decisions without really knowing what I was doing. And you can't really explain it, you're just doing. Whereas games when you weren't playing as well, I felt a sense of overthinking and I didn't engage in that flow state. I could feel that I was putting in too much effort and I was far too much in my head. So how do we achieve flow? Well, in order to access it, certain conditions must occur. And firstly, the golden rule of flow is the challenge-skill balance. We pay most attention to the task when the challenge of that task slightly exceeds our skill set. And finding this balance is where we find the zone. If the challenge is too low for our skill set, then we'll become bored. But if the challenge is too high, then we'll become frustrated, anxious, and maybe even demotivated. It's all about finding something that allows you to stretch, but not snap. And if we can find this sweet spot, then we enter what is known as the flow channel. So how do we find ourselves in this channel? Are there possibly tips, tricks, and hacks that we can use to get there? Well, yes and no. Flow states are trainable, but it's more about getting ourselves into the right environment and conditions to give ourselves the opportunity to enter that flow state. Flow state a lot of the time is not about adding something into your game, it's actually removing from your environment. And so distraction management becomes vital. This could be removing your phone or maybe even people from your training sessions that allows you to be fully engaged in the task. This could be anything from a warm-up and doing movements that are similar to the activity that you're going to be doing, or maybe even practicing the moves that you're going to be doing in your performance. Think of a golfer heading over to the practice range and going through their shot routine and hitting a few balls on the driving range before they play around. This sort of pre-performance practice allows you to dial in the movements and feel comfortable in the activity that you're about to do. Another is listening to music. You'll often see athletes arriving to games with headphones on, listening to their favorite tunes, or maybe out on the practice field practicing their warm-up with music on as well. And music offers a great way to help keep the mind calm, keep the mind focused, and drown out those distractions that can easily stop you from entering a flow state. And it was a personal favorite of mine. It really helps keep your energy balanced. It stops you from getting too excited, too calm and relaxed. It just really gets you into a great frame of mind before you go out and perform. And finally, another one to try is mindfulness. This could be just a few moments of meditation or maybe even some deep breathing exercises to help regulate your nervous system and even gather your thoughts and move you into your game and training with sharpened focus. Which is why if you want to start your journey in mindfulness and meditation as an athlete, then be sure to download the MindStrong Sport app, the mental gym to help you develop your mind as your greatest strength. With meditations, mindset courses, exercises, and much more, the MindStrong Sport app is the place for you to build your stronger mind today. So be sure to head to the link in the description of this video. But none of these are going to matter if you're not engaging in something that you don't find challenging enough for you to be able to stay engaged in. And one way to help trigger a state of flow is to find what triggers our feel-good hormone, which is dopamine. When we're in a state of flow, it is releasing a cascade of feel-good hormones that helps us stay engaged and feel good about the experiences that we're having. And this isn't about the dopamine that we regularly hear about us engaging with on social media or our phones. And some examples of these flow triggers or dopamine triggers would be novelty, trying something new and exciting that you maybe haven't done before. Complexity, making sure that it's a challenge and you're intrigued in the actual task that you're going to be doing. Perhaps there's an element of risk-taking. Is there an element of risk, punishment, or maybe even failure? It's often that skydivers and big wave surfers explain feeling this sense of flow because there are such high risks involved in what they're doing. But another way to help you find a sense of flow is making sure that you have a clear goal. And when setting a goal, you want to make sure that you have certain motivators to help you get there. And there are 5 intrinsic motivators that you can look out for that will help you access this state of flow through your goals. First is a sense of curiosity. Are you curious about the task that you're doing? Then passion. Can you be passionate about it? Leading into purpose. Does it bring a sense of purpose as to what you're doing? Then autonomy. You feel like you're engaging in the task through your own free will. And then finally onto mastery. You're doing something and developing a skill or even performing at a level that you want to master. And lastly, there's also group flow. Sometimes you can find a community whereby it might be a team and you can feed off the energy of other people to help create a sense of flow. I think of being in a team sport where you're training or even in games. You might even join a running class, maybe a yoga class, where you all have the same common goal, and in the activity you're feeding off each other's energy in the group and creating this sense of group flow. So there you have it, a wide range of ways in which you can access flow as an athlete. And some of the common challenges that you'll find are that it does take practice. There's no guarantee that you can just jump into flow when you want. You're going to need to practice some of these things. It's not something that you can just access whenever you feel like it. You've got to be intentional in what you're doing, and getting into flow is a clear-minded process that requires a mindset that is willing to unlock it. But there's another challenge that you're going to want to overcome in order to access this state of flow. And if you want to find out what that is and help correct it, you're going to want to watch this video now.